Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rhobin Knits podcast. This is a proper episode. We have finished objects, we have works in progress, and a few other things to talk about. So if this is something you would enjoy and you're interested in, I hope you grab something to drink, find some knitting, get cozy, and enjoy this podcast with me. It's been over a month since I've done my last proper podcast, and we did have a video go up in between. It was more about my summer knitting plans and a recap of the spring knitting plans, but we did not have a proper podcast, and that is because I have been very busy this summer. I love summers, I dislike winters, and so I've been trying to make the most out of summers, being outdoors, enjoying the sunshine, the warmth, and everything else that I can get out of summer. So we've been traveling more, we've been on the road more, and it would feel like I do have more leisure time, but somehow just the whole traveling, packing, unpacking, packing again, and probably cooking things or baking something, prepping has taken a lot of time, and I haven't had much time for knitting itself. But I do have some projects that were finished earlier and I couldn't really talk about it, and I have a few projects that have been piling up, and I feel if I wait too long it's going to be too much to talk about, and so I decided I'll sit down and film this episode so that we don't have too much to go over the next time we catch up. Now, with that out of the way, I want to start with my first finished object, and that is something I'm wearing. Well, this is my Superman moment. This is the camisole that I'm wearing. This is just called the Cami by Alicia Plummer. It is a very basic cami. The pattern came out sometime last week, and if you look at the pattern, it's not too much. It's a very basic cami. The straps are a little on the thinner side. I'll talk a little about that when I come to the modifications I've made, but it is a very, very quick knit. Now, it's funny that I say it's a quick knit because honestly it would take you over 3 to 4 days to complete the cami. It is knit on 3.75mm needles, and that should go faster compared to a lot of other summer knits which are knit at 3mm or lesser, and or tinier needles. But this was knit on 3.75mm needles, but I had 8 weeks to complete the test knit. This was amazing because no test knit till now has given me 8 weeks to complete something, and as it goes, I took entire 8 weeks to complete this, although I didn't need that much time. And there was a little extension towards the end. That's because there were more modifications made in the pattern, and Alicia wanted to make sure everybody looked at it, tested it, and read over before the pattern was finalized. Now, the pattern was out earlier this week, so you can go check it out. You can look at all the project pages on Ravelry. It has been a very, very lovely experience test knitting for Alicia. She had a group on Ravelry, and I've never really been on a group on Ravelry, so this was fun, and everyone was sharing their swatches, their progress, just like how every test knit group would do, and it was a lot of fun interacting with different people, looking at the suggestions and modifications people were doing. And that's the best part of test knits. If anyone ever asks me why I sign up for test knits, that would be my reason. It is just to have that community experience, and so this was a wonderful test knit. If you get a chance to test knit for Alicia Plummer, if she ever puts out a test knit request, please sign up for it, and if you're chosen, you're gonna have a wonderful time. The suggested yarn was Shoreline Sport. It is made of 50% wool, 25% silk, and 25% linen. Now, I did not have that yarn, and also one of the things I wanted to do every time I signed up for a test knit, it was a goal for this year, that if I sign up for test knits, I want to make sure I use yarn from my stash. And so in my stash, I found Sandnes Garn Tin Lena, and I held it with Luminance lace from Knit Picks. It feels like a mouthful to say all the yarn names, and it was perfect. So I got a little bit of the silk from the Luminance lace, and the Sandnes Garn Tin Lena obviously had cotton, viscose, and linen, and it was perfect. The feel is really nice. I feel like I've been wearing it on really hot days, also because it's such a lightweight knit. It feels good to this is something I automatically reach for on really warm days, and it's been wonderful to wear it. I knit this on the size I knit is size 4, and like I said, I took about 8 weeks to knit it, but the test knit started really early. I think it started sometime at the end of March, if I'm not wrong, and so I had enough time to knit it right before summer hit. So this pattern is knit bottom up. You start with the ribbing and then you move on to the body of the cami itself, and then you split for the underarms, and the front and back are knit the exact same way. There was a big modification I made, that is, before splitting for the neckline, I knit quite a lot in just flat stockinette before I split for the neckline, because I wanted more coverage, and that seemed really good. And once you finish the neckline, you move on to the straps. Now for the straps, there were a certain number of stitches given, and it was more like slipping stitches and making sure the strap would not stretch. The technique used for the strap is really good, but I decided to add on more stitches than the recommended number of stitches for the strap. So let's say there were 5 stitches recommended. I added at least 10 more and went up to 15. Those are not the exact numbers, but I wanted to give you an approximate understanding of how wide I made the straps. So if you look at the strap that is actually in the pattern photos, it would be a lot thinner, but this is how thick my straps are. And again, it felt convenient because it's thick enough to hide a bra strap, and it is very comfortable wearing it out, and I don't have to worry too much about what I wear on the inside. Now about the cost of the yarn, the Sannes Garnton Lena cost about 7.95 Canadian dollars, and I used 2 balls. I actually used 1.5, but since I opened the other ball, I'm going to include that as well as a part of this math. So I used about 2 balls of it, and it would have normally cost me about 15.9 Canadian dollars just for the Tinlina. And then the Knit Picks Luminance lace, I used about maybe 30 grams, and that cost me 23.13 Canadian dollars. So everything put together would have cost me 39 Canadian dollars, but I got both of the yarns on sale. Now the Sannes Garnton Lena I got from the Knitting Loft, and every summer Knitting Loft has a big sale, and I got this from the Knitting Loft last summer. And I forgot what was the discount, but I know because they don't have discount for individual yarns, but when you put everything into the cart, you have a coupon code, and then you have a discount for everything on your cart. So I am assuming it was about 20%. The math kind of matched. I went back to my invoice and checked, the math kind of matched, and so for each ball of Sannes Garnton Lena, I ended up paying 6.36 Canadian dollars, and that came to a total of 12.72 Canadian dollars. The Luminance lace, again, I got it on a sale. This is the fall sale that Knit Picks has, and I usually purchase all of my Knit Picks yarn in the fall sale and try not to purchase anything during the year. So one hank of the Luminance lace costs me 13.88 Canadian dollars, and so a total for this project was 26.6 Canadian dollars. Saving $13 wouldn't seem like a big deal, but I was happy I was able to make some kind of a saving, have a really good garment out of the whole thing, and something that I have been wearing quite a lot. This is my first summer knit that I have been enjoying wearing, and I hope to knit some more this summer and see how it goes. My next finished object was the Sibling Sweater. Now, for those who have been here for a while, you would know that I want to knit a set of 3 sweaters for siblings in the same family, and so I've been trying to keep the contrast color, which is this as the main color, but I have been this as the contrast color, but I have been trying to change the main color for each of the sweaters. So this is the first finished sweater. This is for the size 8 to 10-year-old. This is the second last size on the pattern page, and this was lovely to knit. If you look also, this has been my last project with Twisted Knits, this one as well. I still have one more test knit on the needles. It has twisted stitches, and I'm going to complete it as it is, but I have been making changes with all my other knits. So if you look at this, yes, it does have twisted stitches, but overall it seems okay, and I didn't want to go back and rip it and change, because by the time I had discovered my stitches were being twisted, I was way into the body of this sweater, so I just continued it as it was. Now this was a pleasure to knit, and it has me tempted. I do want to knit the sibling sweater my size, the grown-up size, and you know, I'm going to enjoy it if I knit it. Even the details on the sides are really beautiful, and it's lovely how neat the pickup is. The instructions were really clear, and knitting it was such a pleasure. Also with stripes, we all know how addictive it is. It goes really fast, and so if you feel intimidated by knitting something with more than one color involved, I would encourage you to go ahead and try the sibling sweater. Try a kid sweater, see how you feel, and then you can always move on to the grown-up size. But if you try the grown-up size, you are going to be very, very happy. This is something that I would encourage you all to pick up and knit. Now for this, I use Sandnes Garn again. 2 Sandnes Garn yarns. I used the yarn duo, which is a merino cotton blend, and I used the colorway 4344. That is this color, and the beige or white color is 1015. This was knit using 4mm needle, so it did go by pretty quickly. I have a few mistakes. They are not modifications, they are mistakes. Now when I started, I had decided I'll keep the white, the beige one, as the main color, but as I knit, I felt it would be nicer to have the darker, colorful color as the main color, and have this as the contrast color. When you start knitting, you usually start at the back panel, and you start with the contrast color. So ideally I should have started it with this, but because when I started knitting, I had thought this would be the contrast color, I started with the pink and the rose color. And as I went on and I changed my mind, I ended up using more of the pink yarn than I had originally thought I would. I used up 3 balls of the main color now, and when I reached the sleeve cuff and I had about 4 rounds to go, I ran out of yarn and I had to go and purchase another ball of the Sandnes Garn Duo, and I finished it, but the rest of the ball is here. So what I've decided is I'm going to keep that ball as it is, and I'm going to finish the other 2 sweaters and then use all the leftover yarn to make a nice giant scarf for the mom, so she can match with all 3 of her kids. I used 3 skeins of the main color, the rose color. I don't know what color this is, and this gun just has the color numbers, but it does not have the color names. So I used about 3 balls of this, and this, it has a name, it's Kit, and I found that out when I was entering it on Ravelry. The Kit, I used about 2.5 skeins of yarn. So totally I used about 6 balls of Sandnes Garn Duo. Again, if I bought it at its actual price, each ball would have cost me 9.95 Canadian dollars, and the total would have come up to 59.7 Canadian dollars. I got this at a discount again in the same sale that Knitting Loft had, and it was 20% discount, and so I got it at the entire sweater now costs me 47.76 Canadian dollars, and I'm happy. Any sale I get, any discount I get, even if it's $1, I'll take it with joy. So that's about the sibling sweater. I now have to start the second sibling sweater as part of my summer knitting plans, and once I finish at least one of the projects on my needle, I will cast that on, and because I know it's going to go really quickly, I am keeping the best for the last in my summer knitting plans. Now this was an unexpected cast on. I'm sorry, I've got a lot of hair on this. I've been shedding quite a lot. I do not know why. Okay, now this has been an unexpected cast on. This is the Tolsta Tank, and there are several things that I feel could have gone differently. I used a wool wash for this. I used Surella wool wash, and it smells really good. I have to go back and see what was the wash, what was the name of the scent, and if they have it again, I am going to pick it for sure. Alright, so this is the Tolsta Tank. This is by Rebecca Clow. This was knit with 5mm needles, and so this flew off the needles. This was unexpected. It wasn't part of my summer knitting plans, but I did want something that I could wear a darker color on just a pair of jeans, something long enough for me to feel comfortable. I'm not somebody who is comfortable with crop stuff, and so I wanted a vest that was pretty long, and you can see this is pretty long. I will insert pictures if I can, and I made this using Rhobin cotton. It says 8x8. I don't know what that means, but this is Rhobin cotton. Now, as I started, it was very difficult to get started because the yarn was not really moving on the needles. I tried wooden needles, I tried the metal needles, and finally I just decided I'll stick to the metal needles and get used to the feel of it. It took me at least halfway up the body to get used to the feeling of the yarn. And then as I was reading a little more about the yarn, I realized this is used more by crocheters, and it's used to make bags or summer accessories, and that's what this yarn is normally used for. Now, I did not want to stop it halfway. The yarn does feel a little heavy, and it has not been very convenient to use. I think I'm going to use this more for the evening when we are going on walks instead of using it as a regular wear, like how I would wear this cami. I would wear this on a regular day, but this I would probably use it for the cooler times of summer. I would say this was not more of a process knit, this was more of a product knit. I needed some instant gratification, and so I cast this on. It was done. It took me about a week to do it. This is in the middle of doing other projects as well, and it was quite enjoyable. This is again knit bottom up. I felt I would swear off anything that's knit bottom up after knitting this cami, but knitting the Tolsta didn't feel too bad either. And so it's knit bottom up. You finish everything, and the shoulders are seamed using a 3-needle bind off. When I first saw 3-needle bind off on the pattern, it was pretty intimidating, and my first reaction to it was, oh, I'll just Kitchener stitch it. But once I reached the seaming part, I decided, oh, let me just try the 3-needle bind off. I'll see what it is, and if it does not work, I'll probably Kitchener stitch. And when I did it, it was so much more easier than the Kitchener stitch, and I was so happy I did it. I would have been a fool to not try it. I do still have ends to weave in, but again, this was a nice knit. I also realized I have been knitting a lot of basic items. I feel that's okay for now because I do not have too many knit items in my wardrobe, so I do want to make a collection of basic items and then move on to something that's more complicated, more textured and things like that. When I looked at the pattern, I was falling in between sizes. I was between size 3 and 4, and I decided to knit size 4 because by now, if you know me, I would prefer oversized garments over fitted ones, but I feel I should start looking at a little more fitted garments just to see how I would feel about it. Maybe a vest or camisole is a good way to start because it uses lesser yarn, is done quickly, and it would give me an idea about how I feel about more fitted garments. In fact, any garment I wear, it's usually a very oversized one, and I think I should be a little more adventurous about trying to see what size options we have. This I had actually purchased almost 2 years ago to crochet a sweater for Sam. Back then I did not know anything about yarns, and this was a very foolish purchase because I ended up not making a sweater for him. It was very difficult for me to crochet with as well, and also the fabric was so heavy I knew he would be uncomfortable wearing it, and it was stretching. And I put away the project for a while, and now I ripped it out and made it into this. I was kind of glad I didn't give away the yarn. Each ball of the Rhobin cotton would have cost me 3.74 Canadian dollars, and overall the entire garment would have cost me 26.21 Canadian dollars. Now I bought this on a discount as well, and if you know about Rhobin, the more amount of yarn you buy, the more discount you get. So if you get 5 balls or more, you get about 10%, 10 balls or more, 15%, and it goes on. And I had bought this a couple of years ago. I went back, looked for the invoice, I saw what the price was. So each of the ball cost me 3.21 Canadian dollars, and 7 of them altogether for the entire project, it cost me 22.54 Canadian dollars. That was a difference of $4, and again, I'll happily take any discount I get. Moving on to my works in progress, this is the test knit I've been doing for Anne Catherine. It's the Forever Ribbed dress. Now this dress, as the name suggests, feels like it is forever. So this is where I was the last time I showed you this. I was working on the back panel, and this is where I had reached. Since then, I have finished the back panel. I started the left and the right front panels, joined them together, moved on and joined them on this side as well. I do not think it's ready for trying on yet. Maybe another inch or so I will be able to try it on, but I like the feel of it so far. Before I try it on, I also want to finish the collar, so it would give me a better idea of how it feels. I'm already thinking of a modification to do for this. I do want to make the sleeve. This is a sleeveless dress, by the way, and the finishing on the sleeve edge is an I-cord finish. I have asked Anne Catherine if I could do a double knit finish instead of an I-cord one, and she said absolutely okay, but I need to just wear it, see how I feel, and then make a call. Now, you would know that when it comes to sleeveless dresses or sleeveless tops, I do have a little bit of discomfort with how much my arms are seen. I really don't care about my shoulders, but somehow my arms, I feel very weird about how they would look. And so I want to see if I can, if I'm comfortable, then I would definitely finish it off with an I-cord finish. If I'm not, I would look at a double knit finish, so I can increase the length of the width of the shoulder panel. Yes, so I'm going to finish the collar next and then see how it is before I make that decision. Just so I don't forget, I am going to move the marker down to the last row that I've finished, so we can talk about the progress again the next time we look at this dress. The goal for me is to finish this by the end of this month, because that's when I need to give feedback. I need to give feedback about the yardage, the whole experience, and I'm looking forward to do that actually. This whole thing is really light, and even though it's on really tiny needles, it has been going quite smoothly, and I'm looking forward to finishing it as soon as I can and wear it before the summer gets over. The color, I feel, is also a good selection because I can wear it even in fall. It's going to match the leaves, and in fact the yarn, the colorway is called Fallen Leaves. This yarn is Pearl Soho's Cattail Silk, and I'm looking forward to taking photographs out in the wild wearing this. The needles that I have been using for this is 2.75 millimeter needles. The suggested needles was 3 millimeters, but when I did my gauge swatch, I like the 2.75 better. Also, since it's a dress, I know it's going to be all over my body, and I wanted to make sure the gauge was good enough so it wasn't see-through and I don't have to wear too much inside to be comfortable before wearing this. Ooh, and I'm knitting a size 4. I keep forgetting to mention sizes. I'm sorry. I'm knitting a size 4. Again, size 3 would have been something that's more suitable for me, but I have gone up a size. Now this leaves me in a place of decision making because this dress is designed to have decreases, and I am not sure if I should make decreases. The decreases are optional. They go into your natural waist and then flare out again, and this is a very form-fitting dress. But I am not sure if I want to make the decreases or go on without making the decreases. That is again a decision left to be made. I had initially decided to make it without decreases, but now I'm thinking about making the decreases because when I was envisioning wearing this dress, I thought I have to make probably a belt to tie around the waist, and then I was thinking, why would that be needed if there are decreases worked into the dress? my comfort zone, my comfort level would always be to make the belt and tie it on instead of actually making the decreases. So this is something I really need to think about. I will keep you updated. I need to first finish the collar, try it on, see how I feel, and then probably I'll finish the sleeve edges, and based on that I should be able to make a better decision. So I'm going to just knit another inch on it and finish past the body, finish the top stuff, and then try it on. And I have a lot of decisions to make, so I need all the good vibes, I guess. All right, my last work in progress is something that has been past the decision making stage. For this I need to show you a swatch, so give me a minute. I'm back. So this is a garment. This is a garment that I am knitting for Sam. He gets a garment, he gets one pullover or a sweater every year. When I say every year, it's only been for the past 2 years. The first year he got a crochet sweater, the second year he got a knit sweater, and that was the second garment I've ever made. And this year he's gonna get another sweater. Now, I was very confused between two sweaters. He does seem to like color work a lot. When we went to Knit City and then we again went to Knitting Loft to pick the extra ball of Santa's Gun duo to finish the Sibling Sweater, he seemed to like all the test samples, the sample knits that was hanging around. He seemed to like the color work ones the most, and so I decided to make a color work sweater for him this year. And I also feel brave enough to try a little more complicated large size color work sweater. When you hear the projects I've picked, you would laugh that I called it complicated, but for me, I'm a beginner knitter. I still feel it's a little on the complicated side. So this was the first swatch I made. Now the yarn I used for this was Pearl Soho's Good Wool, was the main color in the colorway Teal Abyss, and I held it with Knitting for Olive Mohair. Okay, here we go. I think you can see that better. I held it with Knitting for Olive Mohair, and it was in Dusty Petroleum blue, I guess. And I finished the swatch. This was for the Saltburn sweater by the Knit Pearl Girl, and it seemed okay, but he put this on his neck and it was itchy. He did not like the feel of it, and I know he wouldn't wear it as much if I still went ahead and made this. That was the first reason. Second, I went ahead and read the entire pattern for the Saltburn sweater, and one of the notes she has in her pattern is not to pick a mohair or a fuzzy yarn for that. You need to pick something with good stitch definition. That's what makes the sweater shine. And I knew that this was not a great idea. Although I do like the pattern, I am gonna try it again soon for, it's gonna be a gift knit, and I am gonna try it for sure, but it's just not gonna be for Sam. And so I decided to put this to rest, and I swatched again. When I swatched again, I swatched for the Kerr Sweater by Rebecca Clow, and I cast it on. This time I did not hold it with the mohair. I used only Pearl Soho's Good Wool. This is what the back panel is looking like as of now. I love how it looks. Yes, it does look like a little see-through, but I'm hoping the yarn blooms. The stitches are perfect. Not that I have stitched them perfectly, but I like how the yarn and the needle size work together. The needle that I'm using for this is it is the recommended needle. It's size 4, and this is the Pearl Soho's Good Wool in the colorway Teal Abyss. The contrast color I'm going to use for this is going to be just the undyed yarn, and if you know the Kerr Sweater, the design is mostly on the waist, so the color work would start after I've joined in the round. One of the reasons I was a little hesitant to cast this on is because the way the sweater is going to look complete and perfect is if you do the color work on the sleeves as well. Now I usually use Magic Loop for the sleeves, and I'm not sure how color work would work with Magic Loop, but then again, it's something I have to be adventurous about and try. Based on Sam's size, the size that I'm knitting for him is size 6, and that is supposed to be 47 inches. Yeah, the chest width is supposed to be 47 inches. Sam is actually a lot leaner than that. 41 or 42 is what he would fall under, but this already has a recommended ease of 2 to 4, if I'm not wrong, inches. And I decided to also go up because he normally wears sweaters with a t-shirt on the inside. This is also a crew neck sweater, so it'll go perfectly well with this t-shirt inside, and I want to make a little more space for him to wear that and wear this on top. Another modification I'm going to make is the way the sweater starts. Again, you cast on top. This is the back panel, by the way. You do some rapid increases, by which I mean you do increases on the knit and the purl side, and then you knit straight down. Now this you have to knit for a particular length. It's in both in inches and centimeters. What I have been thinking is just to accommodate a larger bicep for him. I want to measure, of course, but I would be knitting at least 1 inch longer before making increases for the armhole. It has been very motivating to knit on the Kerr sweater. This is something I've been looking at again since last year. In fact, this was a little after she actually published the pattern, but I was just getting into the whole thing about watching knitting podcasts and looking at designers, and when I reached that episode of a podcast and I saw the sweater, I immediately wanted it and I purchased the pattern. And I'm glad I did, because it was easier for me to make a decision since I had already read the pattern a couple of times. I know what to expect, and I feel I'm up for the challenge of color work. And the color work in this pattern is beautiful, so I'll keep you updated about that as well. What I'm going to do is, after I finish this, I'm going to go pick a stitch marker and put it down here so we can use that as a progress keeper the next time we talk about this sweater again. So that is all about my works in progress. I did not have anything planned knitting wise because I already have a plan which I spoke about, all my summer knitting patterns, and so I just want to make sure I'm working on the dress and the Kerr sweater. If I finish one of them, I will cast on something else, or if either of them get too big and I can't really carry them around for knitting on the go, then I will cast on something else to knit, but otherwise these two are my priority knits. I do have something to share in the form of acquisitions. Like I was saying, we went to the knitting loft to pick that last ball of sanded yarn that I needed for the Sibling Sweater, and when we went there, we were just walking around the store. I was showing Sam different kind of yarns. Sam's my husband, by the way. I was showing him different kind of yarns, and he was just touching, feeling them, and Knitting Loft is really a nice place to hang out. The staff are so good and they make you feel very welcome and included. And even though it's really far from me, that's the yarn store that I would end up going to if I really needed something. Although there are yarn stores that are closer to me, that's my preferred yarn store. So when we were walking around the store, Sam saw this book and he really wanted me to pick this. This is the Shetland book by Mary Wallen. Everyone has, of course, heard about this book. You would have seen a lot of people work on patterns from this. There's the Yell cardigan that is very famous from here. There's also a cowl that somebody made. I forgot who, but I know this is a famous book. Now, the pattern that I really like from here, you would see that it is the rather simple pattern, but this is the first pattern that I am going to knit, and it is the Muckle Row. It is a bottom-up pattern, which I've never done in a sweater. I've usually done top-down, so this is going to be very different. This is what it looks like, and this is something I'm going to be doing as a part of my winter knitting plans. It's going to be a gift knit again, and I'm looking forward to it. I want to make a cropped version because I know the person who wears this would probably wear it more over dresses or jumpsuits instead of actually wearing it the way it is worn over here over a skirt. And so I might probably make a cropped version and see how it goes. And I'm excited about the color work. In fact, a part of the color work looks very, very close to the Yale cardigan, but it is just 2 colors instead of it being more complicated with more colors. So that's what I want to start off with, see how it goes, and then look at the other patterns. The next one I got is the famous Sanders Garn book. This is the 2302 edition. This is the one that has the Abby Genser. So these are the patterns that are actually there. I want to make sure I'm showing it right. Yeah, these are the patterns that are actually there in the book. Out of this, the patterns that have interested me the most are the Brooke cardigan, the Abby Genser, and the Zoe's zipper sweater dress. And in time, I want to knit this as well. What I've noticed is with purchasing books and actually looking at it, feeling it, flipping through pages, I found a different sense of comfort, and I'm very happy looking at patterns in the book versus actually buying a pattern and looking at it online, which I feel is strange because I always felt online versions were a lot better since I could carry it around with me anywhere. And so it's a strange experience, but I am happy that it has been good. Yeah, that's it I have for acquisitions. You can see I am on a strict yarn ban. Wait, I placed an order. This is from the Woolly Mammoth Fiber Company. She had a pre-order. It's going to be shipped in October. And honestly, I placed it just because it was based on the song from Sound of Music, the Favorite Thing song. And I don't know how she's going to interpret it into yarn, but that's one of my favorite movies. That's one of my favorite songs. And I think it was a very emotional purchase. I'm not even feeling guilty about it. I am looking forward to getting it. And I think this is going to be my most precious purchase of the year. But otherwise, I have been on a strict yarn ban, other than purchasing just what I needed to complete patterns, complete projects. I have not purchased anything at all, and so I am borderline proud of myself. I will keep you updated about how it's going and if I make any more acquisitions. Well, I hope you've been having a good time knitting. I hope you've been enjoying all the new patterns that are coming out. I have been looking now at camisole patterns after I saw this, after the Sabai top came out. I have been looking at a lot of the camisole sleeveless patterns, and I have been making a pattern roundup. If I can, I'll probably do a video about it, but I don't have enough patterns that are very inspiring to me yet. And so if I have enough of them, I will put it together in a video and share it with you, just the releases of this year and nothing more than that. If you find any of this content inspiring, please feel free to subscribe so you will know when there's a video that's coming up. And I also want to thank everybody who subscribed newly, and I hope you enjoy my journey with me with knitting. It also reminds me, I did borrow somebody's sewing machine. This person was going on a trip, someone from church, and I borrowed their sewing machine and I want to try sewing. It is a very strange experience. My mom has always been sewing. Sam's mom was a tailor back home, and I mean, she is a tailor back home, and I just want to start with probably a skirt, something really simple, see how it goes, and then move on to making all my clothes. With that, I'll say goodbye. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I gave you company while you did something, and whether it was cooking or knitting or gardening, I don't know what it was, but I hope I gave you company, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Happy knitting, and go out, enjoy the weather. Bye everybody.